Okay, welcome back to the show. It's February 3rd. I'm Nathan Creeps, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bortschelder. Uh, Sickness has arrived in Iowa, and let me tell you something. It ain't leaving anytime soon. I, I'm fighting like a 5-6 day flu, sinus infection, all of the above. Anything underneath the sun that's a bacterial infection, it's in my body.
Nate, we had such a good thing going last weekend.
I,
You had bounced back. You hit some bets. I thought you were getting better. I thought your whole year was getting better, and now you're sick.
yeah. I mean, they had me. They had me in the second half and the first half. All of the above. It was Wednesday on my way home from work. It was fine. All of a sudden, you get that pain, quick sore pain in your throat. It wasn't sick yet, but
Yeah.
you knew right there and then you were screwed. Right. As the next couple of days progressed, so did my illness, and it was more of like a sinus infection. You were kind of fine throughout the day, but at night and in the mornings, you were just terrible, right? You're fine. You couldn't breathe. Wake up every morning. I had to wake up and spend like a half hour spitting everything up, right? And it got a little bit better over the weekend. And then yesterday was the best I felt in 4 or 5 days. Felt like $1,000,000. And then today, all of a sudden, a whole new sickness I think got me. I'm nauseated. I could barely walk without feeling incredibly fatigued. So it's not just a sinus infection. I don't know. You know how there's always that saying, oh, it must be allergy season, but it's allergy season like 12 months of the year. And then there's that other saying like, oh, the flu's really bad this year. It ain't no joke.
Somebody will say that the flu is really bad this year, every single year.
And this year's
It's true.
It's unbelievable this year. Everyone I know has literally been sick, and not just like sick for a couple of days. They've all been sick for like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mentioned it on last pod that Darian was sick for 4 straight days, and it was one of those sicknesses that I've never seen. I mean, we've been together for 5 years. I've never seen her bedridden like that. It sounds like you got something similar.
It's that
Dude,
the norovirus. Is that what they're calling it right now?
it's hard to say. Noro is definitely going around, but I can't pinpoint it. It seems like everyone's got a little something different. Typically, mine will start with that sore throat you mentioned.
Uh-huh.
Starts then with a little body ache. Then I'll get the sniffle, like the unbelievable can't stop the running, and then it turns into that sinus infection if I don't stay on top of it. So I'm praying for you that it doesn't turn into that, because then that lasts for like 3 weeks.
I had the sinus infection part, and it's been like 4 or 5 days. I just started getting over yesterday, but now I don't know. It's such a weird thing. It's like two different illnesses that have happened at the same time is currently in my body. So I don't know how the hell to handle it. And like I have such a brain fog. So everyone, please bear with us today. Every ounce of energy I'm gonna pour into this hour podcast, and then I'm gonna go lie in a hole and just die after.
That sounds like a great plan. Nate, would it make you feel better or worse if I recap the weekend for you a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. I can't wait to talk. No, I'm actually looking forward to today's episode. We got some good content, and I can actually get my mind off my dying body.
Yeah, we were feeling for you. All the Cedar Falls crew, your brother included, made it down for Ben Krieg and Dusty's birthday, and we had a great party in Des Moines. But we missed you, man. Like it just isn't quite the same when the whole squad isn't together. We did our best. We got some burgers at 85 Bar in Hawkeyes. We went down, played some Top Golf, which kind of funny. Can I compare Top Golf Salt Lake City to Top Golf Des Moines?
Is it like Temu Top Golf Des Moines?
It's kind of like Temu Top Golf. So like Salt Lake City back in September was mountain skyline, beautiful Salt Lake City downtown. Des Moines Top Golf is more like a Lowe's background and TJ Maxx and no downtown skyline of Des Moines. So that was the first thing that stood out to me, was that Top Golf is maybe not in the best location. We had a great time. Still fun. I'd still recommend going because it's
Have you
something to do in
have
Iowa.
you been to Pin Seekers before?
I haven't.
Okay.
Over on 380.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Pin Seekers like in Wisconsin. I haven't been to one here in Iowa yet, but I've been to multiple Top Golfs. Top Golf is way better than Pin Seekers, and you're right. Every Top Golf I've been to just have an extraordinary background.
Yeah,
Cool
it
vibe
seems
to it.
like they always plant themselves in a really cool location. That's not really the case in Des Moines,
Damn.
but it was still fun. Then we made our way down to Uptown in the East Village, and I'd never been to the arcade bar over there. I've been to Operating Room, been to a couple others in Des Moines. Uptown was a lot of fun, a lot of throwback games. So we did that for probably 2 or 3 hours, and then things got scary. We hit bellhop, we hit Koa. We could not for the life of us get out of East Village, and we even ended the night at a Club Envy. So you're dragging from sickness. I'm still dragging from the birthday party because we partied like we were in college, and we are not in college anymore.
Yeah, like we said, I was supposed to make the trip down there this weekend. I was originally kind of happy because I knew what type of mess we were going to get our bodies into. So when this sickness kind of first started happening, I was like, "Oh, thank God!" You know, I actually have an excuse not to
Mm-hmm.
kill myself
Mm-hmm.
this weekend, and which I would have definitely done. It sounds like everyone went through the ringer. Man, I mean, that's what Des Moines does. Yeah, you have really good time, but you definitely pay for it the next day or two.
The smartest thing I've done since being over the age of 25 is staying away from East Village and downtown. It's a once in a blue moon kind of thing these days, going out and hitting it hard. And there's a good reason for it. I was reminded harshly yesterday why we don't do that anymore. But we settled in. We had to babysit for a little while, but we were able to watch a little bit of that Iowa Caitlin Clark game. I know that your brother went. He left Des Moines early that morning.
He didn't look.
You watch any of that
He
game?
didn't leave as early as he planned to because of the festivities that took place the night before.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I didn't even hear him leave, to be honest, but I know he made it that way. It's probably on your list today to talk about, so we don't have to go too much in depth right now.
Yeah,
But
we'll recap that. But I mean, 2025 has been off to a crazy year, man. A freaking roller coaster. I know we've all highlighted my life lately. Now you got. What's your thoughts on this Luka Doncic trade? I mean, it's got everyone in the world talking about this right now.
so all I've been hearing is that the NBA is dead, right? Like it's not been in the news. The NFL is crushing the ratings. Women's basketball is getting higher ratings with Caitlin Clark now than the NBA. But that Luka Doncic trade on Saturday night, what took over the internet? Like I didn't expect the NBA to be in any kind of headlines, and it just stole the show.
So you're right away kind of assuming that it was a PR move from the NBA.
I that's my suspicion. You got the Super Bowl coming up. You got Patty Mahomes and Taylor Swift and all this conversation. Like you almost had to do something.
Yeah, the NBA is coming off, I think, like record low viewer ratings, and
Mm-hmm.
I even like the NBA, but I be honest, I really don't watch it. I keep up with stats, and I really get into it when come playoff time. Uh, I'm a LeBron homer, so this trade has me pumped up for sure. And you're a Lake Show guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I grew up a Lakers fan, not really for any reason other than it was like the first basketball game I can remember as a kid watching on TV. Had Shaq and Kobe, so I've been a Lake Show fan. I'm actually kind of excited for
Who
it.
do you think won this trade? We'll move on.
I think it's got to be the Lakers, but at the same time, it's like why are the Mavs giving away their star player? I mean, Luke is only 25 years old. He's gonna have 15 years left. So I think the Lakers, but there might be something going on here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for longevity wise, you're looking at the Lakers won this. But the Mavs, I mean, you got rid of your star player who brought you to
Yeah,
the NBA Finals
finals.
last year. So I don't know.
I
It's a
know.
weird move. There's more going on with Adam Silver trying to finesse some things, get some ratings up, and it definitely will. It's piqued my interest. It's piqued everyone's interest in the world.
You're right, dude. It's the last thing I expected. Like 2025 is weird. Things are happening that I just didn't see coming.
Hey, speaking of that, do you feel safe getting on a plane right now?
No, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's on the purview. I think we have the most flights booked in this year than we've ever had it in the year prior, and it's making me nervous what I'm seeing in the news right now.
I mean, I would always feel weird about getting on like a small little plane, but when you talk
Yep.
about commercial jet lines and airliners, I mean, there was obviously the one that went down to DC. It was 15 or 16 years prior to that. We've had a clean record, so it showed you how far aviation has come and safety wise here in the last decade and a half.
Right.
But I mean, it's just a scary situation, right? I mean, they're lucky that plane was a larger jet passenger carrying plane. I mean, I think it's 64 people on that plane and 3 in the chopper. And then I go to bed Friday and I get on my phone and I see this guy speaking like Arabic or something on his phone, and I see his jet just go straight down. And the caption it says Philadelphia plane, but I thought it was like in the Middle East because the guy behind the video was speaking Arabic right away. And then I looked more into it. I'm like, holy crap, this happened in Philadelphia. I mean,
Right. It's stuff you don't expect to happen in the United States. And honestly, I've never been worried. I've Been flying for 15 years now. I've never been worried to get on a plane. I don't think this changes too much for me, honestly, but I have a fiance who's not very excited to go on a plane anymore.
Yeah, I know why I mean, we understand a little bit why the DC one crashed, right? Because it ran to the helicopter. But why did this one in
Right.
Philadelphia one go down? Do we know? I know it was a Mexican plane.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I honestly, for the most part, I try to stay out of like these kind of like negative news stories a little bit. So I haven't dove too much into it, but it does seem like there could be some foul play involved. And I don't know if they know who that might be. I think it's a lot of speculation right now.
Okay. Right. I mean, it had to. If you look at the trajectory it had and going at full speed, nose diving first. So there was no. It didn't look like there was any mission to abort or potentially save that terrible path it went into. But I mean, coincidentally, we're doing Iowa segments, right? On this date in Iowa, and February 3rd on this date in Iowa, 1959, Buddy Holly died in a plane crash
Right.
in Clear Lake, right?
The day the music
The
died.
day the
Yeah.
music died. He was performing at the Surf Ballroom, the legendary venue in Clear Lake, and he was leaving to head up to Minneapolis, I believe, for another show the
Mhm.
following day, and it was during a blizzard. And it sounds like I don't know why the plane ever crashed. I'm not sure, but sure enough, it went down, and there you have
Yeah,
it.
I think poor weather. Shout out to Kayla Kearns, one of the only people I know that have visited that site. But yeah, crazy timing with. I mean, to me, this is the time of year when I feel like weather isn't that crazy. Like I more so expected spring and fall, but I guess we got a historical Iowa event and now a lot of funny business happening with airlines in America.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're speaking of weather, we're coming off of one of the most beautiful weeks of January in the history of Iowa, right? I know a bunch of towns broke or at least tied some records for temperature highs. February is gonna try and make up a little bit, it looks like. I know Wednesday is like a chance of like freezing rain, some snow, and then Saturday is a little bit more chance of snow. And then you can see as you look farther into the next week and a half, it's slowly starting to dip down to like 765 degrees. So is this where Mother Nature absolutely pounds us and makes up for the lack of winter so far?
I personally say yes. I know we talked last week that we had a little full spring coming, and what that usually means for the Midwest is that the worst part of winter is also coming. Your boys, who I'm starting to doubt, Nate, and I don't want to speak badly on their names, but I'm starting to wonder if these guys can be trusted because they just told us last week that February was going to be calm.
Who are my boys?
I don't know. I don't know if it was Timmer because Timmer's the storm
Oh
guy.
yeah, well we talked about how there's been some storms and then poof, it's gone. Now
Yes,
I don't
yes,
know if we're
that's what
gonna
it
get a
was.
lot of precipitation. I just know it's gonna start getting cold again. I don't know, man. Dude, it was just a weird feeling last week because I really felt like I was in the end of February and March, which I hate. I like it. You
Yep.
enjoy it while you're in it, but at the same time, if we're thinking longevity wise, the history of Iowa. You're like, we're screwed here soon. So I hate that false tease. I really just want to get to spring and move on from this crap. But buckle down. I think we got ourselves a month ahead of it because Phil saw his
Yeah,
freaking shadow.
I heard the news. That little rat rodent saw his shadow, and to me, I think he's right. We've had such a mild winter. It's going to be a record least amount of snow. I think February's got something in
I
store.
usually Phil's wrong. So whatever. Besides last year, he was actually right. He didn't. He
Ah,
didn't see a shadow last year, and it was actually correct. Spring came. We had an early spring last year. I think you are right. I think him seeing the shadow this year might have doomed us.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Can I ask you a question about Phil? As someone who's never really watched him live, how do they determine whether the rodent sees a shadow?
I don't know. I don't. So I think they do it in privacy, if I'm correct. And they, if he comes
Yeah.
out and he sees a shadow, and then they write like a little poetry behind it, and then they release that statement to the crowd is where they find out if Phil saw his shadow or not. Yeah. How the hell do you tell if this guy sees a shadow or not? It doesn't make any freaking
I don't
sense.
know, and it makes me think that there's some deep state underlying weather folks that are telling Phil what to do. I almost don't even want to blame the guy. I think that he's got his hands tied behind his back.
Uh huh. And like I said, usually he's wrong. I think like 60% of the time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, he's the fall guy in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, it's a genius move by a meteorologist blaming it on a groundhog. All right, let's move on to some better news here.
Okay, let's get
Two
positive.
Iowa high school baseball programs, Bryce, will get an opportunity to compete on a major league baseball field this summer. Clarion Goldfield and my former high school, Bishop Garrigan, will square off June 12th from Target Field, home of the Minnesota Twins.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That I would love to play at Target Field. It's actually one of the only major league stadiums I've been to, and it's really cool.
I wonder how that happened. I know Coach Meister has been coaching there, him and his dad. His dad is one of the most successful winning baseball coaches in the state of Iowa, and ever since he's passed away, his son, my former high school teacher, Rob Meister, has taken over the program, and he's a huge Twins fan, if I can remember correctly. So I wonder if he had some insights in there or how they make that happen, but that's such a cool experience.
It's really cool. And I know that, well, they stopped playing at Principal Park a couple
which
years
is
ago,
lame.
and that's super lame. And to me, that was always a really like big deal. If you got to play in the big city, downtown Des Moines, like that's a really cool park too for AAA. Like I'm glad some kids are having a cool experience because I figure whatever they're doing now is not as cool as
That's the
Principal.
main part in high school you look forward to most as a competitive athlete is making it to the state tournament because you get to play in such these awesome venues, right? These larger than life venues where you grow up in small town Iowa playing a stinky little gym and you fight your way like the Hoosiers did, in the movie Hoosiers.
Yeah.
So I hate that to take them. Now they play in Carroll, Iowa. I know it's they have it segregated on some like classes. Like one class will play in Carroll. I think last year a little bit in Cedar Rapids. Maybe I think the 4A's at the University of Iowa now. Baseball.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which sucks.
But yeah, I mean, totally. That's the whole point of getting to state is you get to play in somewhere cool. Glad for those teams that get to play in Target Field. That's going to be sweet.
Iowa trooper finds missing elderly man from Minnesota 200 miles away from his home. An elderly man from Minnesota was found safe in Iowa after leaving to get McDonald's, then driving more than 200 miles from his nursing home. Iowa State Patrol Trooper Noah, I'm going to get his last name wrong here, Kubashek, said he was working an overnight shift on a cold December night when he received a description of the missing vehicle from the police in Minnesota. The trooper later spotted that car on I-80. He's like, yeah, I just walked right. I was in the right place at the right time. I saw what I looked like to be a vehicle, looked like that vehicle drive by me, and I pulled out behind it, and I noticed that it was the same vehicle matching license plate. So he found this dude. He was able to return him back 200 miles away. And then when he pulled him over, the elderly man was completely flabbergasted that he was in Iowa.
Oh, my God. Well, one, I'm really glad that they found him. They got him back. Kudos to this guy. 200 miles?
That's a hell of a trip.
That's awesome.
That's kind of scary knowing that he was out there 200 miles for uncharted territory. But I'm glad that's the only news I heard about it, which is good news.
Seems like he's good. Yeah, it seems like the officer did his job, got him back home safe. But I kind of hope for that every once in a while when you're in the old folks' home and there's probably not a lot of journeys left. I'm excited he got 200 extra miles.
So they just let him get in his car to the nursing home? I didn't know you had a car when you're in the nursing home.
I don't know how that works. I would assume after a certain age, I know you have to get a driver's license, like kind of special test so that they can prove that you can even drive.
Okay.
So yeah, my guess would have been, is it a stolen car? I doubt he has a car there.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, shout out to Iowa State Trooper Noah for returning the man back to his nursing home. All right, a little bit of up and down here for sports in the state of Iowa with, Caitlin Clark. She has so much magic, whether she's on the court or off the court. It's absolutely unbelievable. The Iowa woman upset number 4 USC 76-69 on Caitlin Clark's jersey retirement night. I mean, people have paid so much money here in the last years to do anything with Caitlin Clark, where it's merchandise, it's going to see her sign some autographs, it's going to see her attend an event, it's to go see her, watch her play basketball. And you always come away with an unbelievable story, no matter what it is. People say, she moves the needle. No, she is the needle. Whatever she does, you get your money's worth. And just goes to show you, she has the most fairy tale fiction story I think I've ever seen outside of her winning a national championship. But I don't even care about that. Everything she's done and accomplished in her life, or everything she's been involved with, has been extraordinary.
Absolutely. I mean, it's getting to the point where to me, it is the LeBron James of this era, where you had never truly seen something like it. And it's fun because it's really like a nationwide like aura. It's not even necessarily that she's so physically dominant like LeBron, but the wave of excitement is like nothing I've ever seen before. To the point where, we talked about NBA ratings earlier. She's turning down a chance to shoot at the NBA 3-point contest over All-Star weekend. And the NBA is going to her because they need the ratings. It's something I've never seen before.
I don't know where I saw this today, but they're saying she's one of the top 100 most powerful women in the world. I would go
Absolutely.
to venture more top 20 right now.
Yeah, they were talking about this while she was sitting with Taylor Swift in the booth during that Chiefs divisional game, and it's like, man, who's bigger? Obviously Swift, but at the same time, like if you're even adjacent to the sports world, Clark is a top 15 influential woman in the world for sure.
And better yet, it happens on February 2nd, 2-2, the retired number jersey 22. I mean, you can't make this up. When Iowa women's basketball needed a win more than ever right now, they have the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the country, Juju Watkins, the potentially next Caitlin Clark coming in to her home environment, and Iowa gets the upset. They start up 18-1 to start that game, and it was the loudest I've ever heard Carver from the TV standpoint. I wish I could have been there. My brother was there. It was actually unbelievable how loud it was. And credit to the USC, you knew they were going to make this game a fight, and they fought their way back in. They actually end up taking the lead at the very end of the first half. The Juju Watkins steal a half court and lays it in. And you right there, they're like, maybe they don't have it, but there's just too much magic in that arena. I was never worried at one point, and I hit Iowa plus 700 or something like that. And
Wow.
I just
that's what they were they like 12, 13 point underdogs
15
there?
and a half point favorites are underdogs, I think, at the beginning of the game. I didn't hit them till about live bet. But man, yeah, you just knew some way, somehow I was going to pull this off. And when Iowa needed to get something going, when they've been struggling here last couple weeks, Lucy Olsen showed you a little bit of her Villanova stuff and dropped in 28 points, a couple big steals to extend that lead at the end of the game. And shout out to Addison O'Grady. I don't know if you watched the game, but she reminded me yesterday of a little bit of Monica Sonano. Crafty in the post down low and was hitting the mid-range shots. The shots were just falling for Iowa when they need to fall. A huge win for Jan Jensen.
So, such a big win. I mean, obviously USC is going to make a deep run. They're good. And to play in that environment, keep it close. Like I am actually a little surprised that it was a 15-point because you almost would have made that close to even spread with Caitlin in the building. I think next time the books will know. I did hear that this was maybe a turning of the page, closing of a chapter of the Caitlin Clark era. I think, years pass and you won't probably have that same magic, but God, when she's in the building, it's just a different story. I can't believe they were 15-point dogs. Cause like you said, I don't think I ever really had a doubt that this was going to be close.
Well, they were 25-point favorites against Northwestern earlier in the week, and they almost blew that game. So, I mean, you watch Iowa go on a 5-game losing streak too, just right before that. So things have been not well for the Iowa women, trying to recover from the post Caitlin Clark era, and then all you need her to do is step in the building, and then you
just
beat the
step
number 4
right back in the building.
USC Trojans. So that was awesome. Hawks moved to 15-7. They got a lot of work to do the rest of the season, but that's definitely a Kickstarter. Nothing's hotter right now, Bryce, than our Drake Bulldogs. Okay, the first team in the country to reach 20 wins. They are now 20-2. And when you talk about Caitlin Clark being magical, how magical of the season is this right now for Coach McCollum, the 15-year, 10-year, 4-time national champion coach at Northwest Missouri State, comes to a program who lost the best coach in school history. You lose everyone but one player, and you bring 4 Division II starters onto your squad, and you're the first team in college basketball to reach 20 wins.
It's a big feat, and there was some magic in Carver, no doubt, but there's a little bit of magic in Des Moines this year for sure. There's something special brewing at the Knapp Center. These boys are no joke.
Drake defeats Southern Illinois 75-65. Bennett Sturts pits on a clinic here. 30 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Banks comes off the bench, 21 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. I've been talking about Bennett Sturts being more aggressive, and he was aggressive that entire game.
I was going to say, there's your 30-point game, Nate.
I mean, God, he is so skilled in every single area. Coach Jacobson put it best after Drake beat you and I Wednesday. He says, that guy just creates such challenges. How do you defend him? You lay off him, you go underneath ball screens, he'll kill you with the 3. You over pursue. He's got vision unlike anyone else in the country when it comes to the point guard position. And is just taking care of business, man. He's likely going to be in the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. That's 3 times in 3 years that a Drake player will probably win the Missouri Valley Larry Bird Conference Player of the Year. Things are excited right now in Drake. And like I said, they took care of business against a good UNI team too. Wednesday, 66-52. Drake shot the ball incredibly well from three. Sturts pipped 20 points, 3 boards, 4 assists that game. And man, Drake's rolling right now. UNI, if you watched them last night, they smoked Bradley, who was first in the conference. So Drake is now your sole
Yep.
conference leader right now, sitting at a pretty damn good spot because not only do they have a game ahead of Bradley, but they have that win against Bradley too. So they really have 2 games on Bradley. That just goes to show you that the Missouri Valley is going to start eating each other up too. But Drake's handling it on the road and at home.
Yeah, I mean, after that 2-game skid, I think there was maybe some doubters. I know that there's national doubters, no doubt. I'm feeling really, really good about these Bulldogs right now, and I'm not worried at all about this regular season conference tourney. I think you win a couple more games, and you're going to start getting some votes for that top 25.
We've seen in recent years that Drake has not been able to eclipse the conference regular season championship, but they get the job done when it matters most in the conference tournament and secure that victory. But this year, it's looking like a different story that they have the front runner, and the Missouri Valley runs through your hometown team in Des Moines, the Drake Bulldogs. Sturts leads the conference in steals, assists, and points per game. He's the most exciting player. It's not super sexy always, but he's the most, in my opinion, when you love basketball to a T, this guy's it. He's the most exciting player right now in the state of Iowa, and I think he's a top 3-5 point guard in the country.
Absolutely. That was the thing I noticed. What Jacobson was saying after that game is exactly what I noticed when we were in person. He's unbelievably aware of what's going on the floor, which makes you so much more deadly. If you always have an option, a way to get out of something, he can score, but he's always finding the teammate that's open. That's so impressive.
Quick shout out to Michael Admire, who God must really love. This guy is going to have a potential three-peat with his Kansas City Chiefs and his Drake Bulldogs. I mean, this guy's living the life right now. Thank you again, Michael, for hooking up my friend Craig Barslow, who's able to attend that game, and he extends his love back to you, Michael. Let's move on to some shittier news because Iowa Hawkeyes, Iowa gets washed yet again on the road here just last Monday against Ohio State, 82-65. Anytime Iowa has a real game, don't even travel. Don't even go to the game. Just chalk up an L, take down the flight, put a border around the state so that basketball team cannot leave Iowa City. Keep them in the state. They have no business competing on the road. It's embarrassing right now what we've witnessed. Josh Dix didn't even score a single point. Either Brock Harding, your potential leader and point guard, and now we got Owen Freeman just announced that he's out for the season. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Just announced.
I honestly, for my mental health, I've stayed away from a lot of Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball news, and it's served me well. I didn't even tune into that Ohio State game. I was keeping track on the box score, but what I should have done if I was a smart bettor was bet the house against Iowa. You're so right. They have no chance of winning on the road.
It's just completely unfundamental team when you see him just competing on the road. I don't know. There's just something about it, man. And Josh Dix and Brock Harding combining for 0 points. That's a recipe for disaster. Yeah, Owen Freeman announces he's out for the rest of the season due to a finger injury, who will be having surgery. And I had an inside source from 2 days ago. My cousin Steve reached out to me and said, hey, Owen Freeman is going to be out for the rest of the season. They're saying it's an injury, but it's a cover-up. And sure enough, I see the announcements, and I'm like, oh, my God, he might have known it. And I think...
What's the cover-up? You think he's leaving town?
I think this is the last you see of Owen Freeman in the basketball uniform at Iowa. And things are dark. We're in dark days right now in Iowa basketball. We got to make a change before it just we're just dragging it out right now. Make a decision now. Don't wait to the end of the season. Make a decision now. Have Fran shake his hand, say good luck out there. We got to move forward from you.
Yeah, I'm not even bummed about the Freeman news. If they had any chance of making a late season run, but you've seen it. We've mentioned it twice, 3 times maybe on this pod since the new year. Like, he's lost the locker room. The guys don't have the fight. They've lost the basis of what they were always good at. Like, chalk it up. The season's over. And yeah, I don't disagree. Make a move mid-season. Let's see a fresh wave of positivity in Iowa City.
Up next, Iowa hosts number 10 Purdue Tuesday, and then they're back at home again Saturday against number 17 Wisconsin, who put up that Kohl Center record against the Hawks last time they played. This is if things couldn't be more brutal right now, they're potentially going to get even worse here for Iowa. But at the same time, it's an opportunity. You look at these opportunities, the barrier pass and get a big win. But man, this right now, I don't know how you look at.
Nate, you're still speaking positive. Like there's hope,
I,
and I'm glad, but at the same time, I'm like,
well,
I've lost it all.
I'm only speaking hope because the year can't get any worse. You lose these games, you're just whatever, right? You lost your SAR center and you've been getting cooked on the road. Now you have two teams coming in ranked in the top 25. One's a top 10 team. The only outcome, the only thing that could potentially come from this is maybe an awesome victory, or if you lose, you're expected to lose. It is what it is. Just go compete. It is, I don't know, man. You're losing interest in the fan base, and that's the last thing you want right now in Iowa basketball. Because I heard a really good comparison the other day about Carver Hawkeye Arena. It doesn't even seem like Carver Hawkeye Arena when the Iowa women play versus when the Iowa men play, right? It's two completely different arenas. It's
Totally.
so true. You would have never recognized yesterday when Iowa took down USC that this is the same arena that the Iowa men played in. No. Some people think, no way the Iowa men played in a nursing home, which is damn accurate.
Yeah. It's sad for me because for what, since 2013, I probably watched 90 Iowa basketball games, if not more. And I know you're in the hundreds. It's getting to the point where it's not even worth tuning in for me. And I was bummed. I was really bummed when I started seeing the skid because there was something going on here. And Iowa has been in the trenches for 25 plus years. Like, yeah, okay, a couple tournament games here and there, but I felt like there was something growing. And hopefully the something that I can take out of this as like a 7 out of 10 fan is that maybe there was some kind of groundwork laid for the next coach to come in. But I'm ready for something new.
Yeah, it really goes to show you that what Luka Garza and Keegan Murray and Chris Murray really covered up for Iowa, and Aaron White and Jared Uthoff. Some really good players have gone through Iowa. There's no doubt about that. And credit the Fran for building skills within a player.
Mm-hmm.
But as a team unit wise, we're really lacking some fundamentals. Did you know this about the Big Ten tourney that only the top 15 teams will make the Big Ten tournament? So you have to qualify to be eligible to play in the Big Ten tournament this year.
Oh, I didn't.
I didn't know that until this week earlier too. Because I don't know, is there 18 teams in the Big Ten? I don't even freaking know anymore. Yeah, so the top 15 teams will get into the Big Ten tournament, which is cool. I'm like, because I was trying to understand, my God, the Big Ten tournament is almost going to be like a freaking NCAA tournament now. And I've always said this. I'm like, God, I almost don't even like winning the Big Ten tournament because it is, you compete for 4 straight days sometimes, like Iowa did with Keegan Murray. You played her best basketball, and then you have such a short turnaround time with like 4 or 5 days to prepare for the NCAA tournament. And it cooked Iowa that year when Keegan Murray won it. And that's one thing about the Big Ten tournament. It's the last conference tournament to be played prior to the NCAA tournament. You need to do 2-week gap. So I'm glad to see that every team will make the Big Ten tournament because you don't want to make it too big and spread yourself too thin. But that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That Sunday game, you have selection Sunday, that announcement of all the tournament teams like hours later, then you're turning around playing as soon as like 4 days later. So yeah, it was never good for us. I thought that Keegan team was going to win it all.
Yeah. Definitely the best I've seen Iowa basketball play under the Fran McCaffrey era throughout the Big Ten tournament. Iowa State suffers a terrible week.
Yeah, they did. Yep. It's some of that, Nate. It's some of that we predicted maybe back in November. And I'm not going to say anything yet. That's probably the last I say of anything Iowa State related. I'm going to let you take the rest of the segment because I don't want to get ahead of myself. But some true colors are showing.
Yeah, Iowa State they go down to Arizona. They take care of business against Arizona State, and then they have that short turnaround against Arizona, which is one of the best home crowd environments I've seen outside of Hilton Coliseum. So I hear Arizona is really proud and pumped to be in a conference that appreciates basketball, where they can showcase their home court advantage, and that's exactly what happened, man. That place was a death trap, a death zone. Iowa State gets forced into OT from a 3/4 quarter shot from the 20-year veteran Caleb Love. Man, that was one of the coolest shots I've seen.
How can I say this nicely? Iowa State played a damn good game.
Should have won it.
On the road, being up 3 with that amount of time, you expect to win. When it went to overtime, you almost knew it was over. You give a home crowd one more chance, and they're going to come through.
those losses hurt more, are bigger than just losses. Okay.
Yep.
Uh, Different teams, but same comparison is like when the Commanders hit that Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears. You just see
Yep.
it just deflate a team's locker room, the morale. It's a gut punch, and you just don't know how to overcome it sometimes. And that's afraid to see that's kind of what happened to Iowa State here. You see that shot go down, you're absolutely demoralized. You stood no
Yep.
chance in overtime. Arizona took care of business. Now you come to Hilton Coliseum with one of the bigger upcoming rivalries with Coach Tang and the Kansas State Wildcats, who were 9-11 coming to this game, and they just washed Iowa State at Hilton Coliseum. I mean, embarrassing loss for Iowa State. Definitely the worst loss under Otzenberger. Iowa State falls to 17-4. And I've been trying to tell people this Kansas State team's a good team. I mean, they got $1 million roster. They got Coleman Hawkins from Illinois there. I've been trying to tell people just because you have all these players, sometimes it doesn't mesh well. It might take some time,
Right.
but they have players. You catch them at the wrong time, you're going to find out real quick. And that's exactly what happened to Iowa State. Caught them at the wrong time. Kansas State was just starting to heat up. And remind you, Drake beat this team at Kansas State. Well, the neutral court,
Yep.
but it was a Kansas State home game. Drake took care of this team. I mean, Drake probably got him at a better time than definitely Iowa State. But yeah, Iowa State's fortunately or maybe unfortunately, they have a short turnaround time tonight. Now they got to go to Kansas and take care of business at the Fog. So you have the opportunity ahead of you, or we're going to be digging ourselves even a deeper hole.
Yeah, that last Kansas game was truly the peak. You thought you might have had a number one team in the entire nation. I get it a little bit with the Kansas State loss. You're coming off of a hangover game where you feel like you should have won, but there was not a lot of fight there. There was a moment, Iowa State down 15. They make a little run. I think they're down 8 in the second half with maybe 7 or 8 minutes left to go. I've never seen Otts more fired up. And there's no doubt in my mind that he is ready to play ball. He knows the stakes. The guy's got to catch up a little bit. That these are games that you have to win. It can't be something that you overlook in the Big 12 playing any opponent. And you've said it, and I think a lot of people are starting to see Kansas State heat up. You can't overlook that game. You have to bounce back because now you've got the Houstons and the Kansases coming back up. And those games are no gimmies, especially now that you're playing on the road tonight.
If I'm trying to look at the upside here for Iowa State in these two losses, Bryce, I try to put myself in their shoes as a basketball player, go back to the old days. It's good to have a back-to-back loss and figure your shit out, right? Instead of have a really bad loss, win a game, kind of think you have it. So then you feel like you don't need to adjust
Yep.
much, and then lose another game or two down the road. So if you're going to have a bad stretch, do it back-to-back. Clean your shit up. Understand there's a lot of weaknesses. We may not be the number one team in the country right now. We have the pieces there to make it happen. Learn from your mistakes, and now is your time tonight at Kansas. And Kansas,
Yep. And
Kansas is kind of in the same shoes right now. I mean, they're coming off some terrible losses. They had 2 opportunities to beat Houston later last
Yep.
week, and I don't know. You can make a case for either team tonight, and on a moral victory here. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be definitely
Yep.
a good, fun game to watch.
Yep, we've said it. February is the time where teams get made, and you start seeing, okay, these guys have what it takes. They bounce back from adversity, and they string together a lot of wins in February. This is the month to do it. I still have faith. Like I think it's a damn good team. I think it's one of the best Iowa State teams we've seen in a while. But I think we're starting to see the recipe to beat them. So
Yep.
I see a very high trajectory for this team, but it's got to start tonight.
Buckle up. College basketball is going to get crazy here in the month of February, as it always does, and we get a little more tension and heat as we get closer to March. All right, that'll wrap up our sports segment here. We got an interesting top 5 segment for y'all today. We're going to be ranking our top 5 most haunted places in Iowa. Some of these are from research that we've probably looked into, and personally, some of them are from some experiences. And Bryce, my aunt is famous in the family for ghost hunting and going on ghost adventures. So I gave her a ring last night. She's been to Gettysburg. She's been to Salem, Massachusetts. She's been to the Villisca Axe Murder House. So she gave me her 2 cents on all of these and some of her most haunted places in Iowa, and I was able to relate to some of these. So we got some good stories. I'll share to because I'm assuming we're probably going to have the same number
Couple
one.
crossovers.
Yeah, for sure. And
For
probably
sure.
number 1. And go ahead, Bryce. Start us off with your top 5 most scary haunted place in Iowa.
Yeah, this is a fun segment. We actually posted a list of our top 6 favorites last year. So I pulled from a little bit of that post, but um, this Stony Hollow Road in Burlington sounds haunted. Um, there's a legend that Lucinda was running away from her family in Burlington, Iowa back in 1912. And she was supposed to meet her lover at the Stony Hollow Road Bridge. He never showed, and she jumped. And legend has it, if you say her name 3 times and a rose petal drops down, you may die within the next 24 hours.
There's something about haunted bridges,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see a bridge or
I got
two.
chills.
Yeah, you'll see a bridge or two come on my list. And you said that's in Burlington, so
Yep.
they have the world's whiny and cricketous road, and they also got
Mm-hmm.
a haunted road. Okay, interesting. My number 5, Bryce, is the Oakland Cemetery in Iowa City. I've been researching this one since I've been a little kid. I've always been a big ghost adventure hunter. It's mostly famous because of the Black Angel statue there. And rumors are if you touch it, you'll be cursed, whether you'll die in a car accident. I know one time I think a pregnant lady touched it and I'm having a miscarriage. So stay away from the statue. It's obviously got a lot of history around it. I'm not sure why it's there. Why are we building this scary black angel statue in the cemetery? It's already
Yeah,
scary
that seems
enough.
like we're setting ourselves up for not a very successful afterlife there, but okay.
All right, my number 4, I'll snake it back here with the Clarissa Mental Hospital built in 1884. There's 2 ways. I mean, there's a few ways to make things really scary, right? You build it in the 1880s, and
Yes.
it's a mental hospital. You mix those 2 together, you're asking for some demons and some weird shit to be happening in an old abandoned building.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything built in 1860 to pre-1900 is going to be the scariest thing. That's one of the top criteria.
I don't have any stories from this building, but I know there's some shit that's gone down there.
No, if it's a mental health hospital, I don't think you need to explain too much more. My number 4 is actually an interesting location. I don't think of the movies and opera houses and theaters necessarily as something that would be a scary thing. Maybe Phantom of the Opera changed that for a lot of people. Cresco Theater and Opera House is haunted, and if you go, stay on the lookout for shadowy figures and phantom performers because allegedly that can happen there.
Opera houses are definitely terrifying. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, you're right, and that's true because a lot of them were built in the early 1900s. So it's got that creaky wood, scary feeling to it. I get it.
Hit me for number 3.
Oakland Cemetery. I'm not. I totally agree. I'm not sure why we're building scary angel figures right out front front of the cemetery. Oakland Cemetery elected to do that. And did you mention the fact that this angel sometimes walks around with a glowing shape?
No, it does.
That's been rumored to happen. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what year it was built? Did you catch that by
I
chance?
don't have a year here. I might have it still pulled up, but yeah, it's old for sure.
I want to know what year that thing was built because if it goes right in our timeline of the 1880s or 90s, you know it's for sure cursed.
Even earlier than our danger zone, 1843.
Oh,
which
man.
I don't know if that's scary or not, but there's no chance I'm going over there.
I don't want to touch it. My number 3 is where I started getting some crosshairs with my aunt, the famous ghost traveler. Little Africa. Little Africa is a small wooded area southeast of Laguna, so I have a lot of history here. It's actually known as the Giggle Woods, but people call it Little Africa for its shape. Because if you were to zoom out in a satellite, you could see like the continent of Africa, right? And there's been multiple hangings there on a bridge. And I mean, Bryce, this place is in the middle of nowhere, and you go in this creepy little road, and you go in this dense wooded area. And up in the wood, there's this trail that you used to go to. The house is no longer there; they took it down. But a maid was murdered in that house, so you have sorts of hangings, murders,
foul play.
Yeah, all sorts of weird stuff going on there. We always used to hang out there as kids. I never really experienced anything too crazy out there, but there's definitely a weird vibe. And our parents would just drop us off there when we were 7th or 8th grade, and we would hang out there for like 6-7 hours. No joke. Super creepy that we did that, but. It's just a weird feeling, man. And if you go look up some things on the internet, you'll find some stories going on in Little Africa.
I get it, man. And it does feel like you have that like innocent kid luck but there's no chance I'm going back to any of these spots now because I'm just not
It's
testing my
like one of
luck.
those things. Growing up in Iowa, we did that segment. You drive around for fun, or you go to
Hmm.
scary haunted places in your
Yep.
area. I'm gonna follow back number 2 here. I do have a personal experience with this one. This is the Terror Bridge of Fort Dodge, and
Okay.
so this would have been when I was about 15 years old, and I had a friend above in the grade above me, Andrew McGuire. Shout out to Andrew. He had his license, so he was able to drive my vehicle because I couldn't drive at the time, and we would go to Terror Bridge. I've been to this place like 3 or 4 times, but him and I went there one day, and we parked the truck about 100 yards, maybe like 50 yards away from the bridge down, and this bridge is in the middle of nowhere. We parked there, and I was in the car messing with my phone yet, and he was already walking up to the bridge. And I get out of the truck, and I'm about to shut my door, and my entire body's on the outside of the vehicle, right? And the only thing in the inside of my vehicle is my fingers about to shut from the top of the door frame. And right before I shut, I hear the click. All the doors just locked simultaneously. And I stop it, and I look up at Andrew. I'm like, hey, did you lock the car? He's like, no, the keys are in the console. I look dead center of the console. There, the keys are just sitting in the middle of the console. My hand's nowhere near any lock button. We were inches away from being locked out, and there was a huge thunderstorm about a half hour away coming, and we would have been stranded in the middle of nowhere. So, very weird experience I had there. The story is behind this bridge, Bryce, is that I think during World War II, uh, a widow lost her husband to the war, and she took her 2 children to this bridge that goes over train tracks and pushed them in front of the train. And I think she hung herself, or maybe she put herself in front of that train too. So there's 3 souls that haunt that place.
I think you qualify as a true haunted experience. That is terrifying.
Definitely ran all
I,
the
I,
chills up you. And like I said, we were in the middle of nowhere with this massive storm rolling in Iowa too. So we would have been absolutely screwed. We got really lucky I didn't shut that door.
that's a great true haunting. I don't have any of those personal experiences, and I definitely don't have one at the Independence State Hospital, which I don't think is in commission anymore. But kind of as you were saying about anything mental health hospital, you think about the primitive technology that was used to do some surgeries back in the
Uh-huh.
day. Yeah, those souls are haunted.
There's no doubt about
Independence
it.
State Hospital, obviously in Independence, Iowa.
Yeah, my wife works at Independence, and I have not heard any stories because she works in a brand new hospital, so there's no bad history there. But I wish you would kind of worked in the old one so I can hear some weird shit going on there. But yeah, stay away from old hospitals and the mental asylums, things like that.
Yeah, you're just setting yourself up for a terrorizing evening. Which, speaking of terrorizing evenings, our number one, which I assume is your number one, you kind of mentioned it already, the Villisca Axe Murder House,
One of the
early 1900s,
one
scary axe murders situation
one of the
here.
most famous haunting places in the country. And my aunt, like I said, she's been to Gettysburg, she's been to Salem, Massachusetts. She lives in Forest City right now, and she's been to all these haunted places. She says the Villisca Axe Murder House is by far the scariest place she's
Really?
ever been to, and that was the only place she could never spend the night. So they sign up to spend the night there. So that's they're full
Yeah,
on.
she's serious.
They're
Yeah, yeah.
serious, and they had like a group of 5 or 6 of them. And she says one point in the middle of the room, a little ball, just started rolling across the room, and then at another point, her hair just got super staticky,
Oh,
and it would
oh,
rise up, and she was so frightened she went outside on the property, and her hair was still frightened up, and until the second she stepped on the street, it went down. And they
oh.
said after that, they said, no way, we're out of here. And she actually sent me a voice recording of like one of those I don't know what those utensils those
Right.
ghost hunters do where you can catch screams. And I'm not gonna
Yeah.
play it, but it's because it's hard to hear a little bit, but you can hear screaming in the background. That's from the Villisca Axe Murder House.
There was, I believe it's still one of the unsolved mysteries in the state of Iowa.
Yep.
Two different suspects were tried. I don't think that they ever convicted
They
anybody.
never did.
Um, 2 adults, 6 children murdered, and you bet their souls are still hanging out above the axe murder house.
I want to go to these places, but you got to be careful because I don't want to be followed for the rest of my life. Because my aunt, she goes looking for ghosts. She wants to see ghosts, and she's like, once you do it, you got to be careful because once you open yourself up to them, they're going to be following you for the rest of your life. She claims her place in
Yep.
Forest City is haunted. She's seen a human body walking around or something like that. She's trying to tell me about. So you got to be careful. I want to see it. If I could go see it and know that I'm going to be in peace after, I would totally do it. You're kind of playing around, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you ever done a Ouija board?
No, I stay away from
Yeah.
anything potentially haunting.
Man, we got to get a ghost expert in here sometime, maybe get a little more depth, who's been to some of these places in Iowa and find us some more history about it. But yeah, stay away from that stuff, unless if you're inviting them into your life, which I highly recommend you do not.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think this was a great top 5 overview of some haunting spots in Iowa, but it would be fun to get in-depth looks from people that have really taken some time with this.
My operations manager at my job is a medium. Ever told you that?
Really?
Yeah. So she has a business on the side where she speaks to the dead, and she's like she's basically clarified what my aunt said. She's like, you're fine if you don't go out looking for it, but if you're looking for trouble, you're probably gonna get trouble. So that's why you don't mess with the Ouija board. I mean, you got 2 stories adding up there real quick. But man, that was a great segment, Brace. I think we had a great podcast today. Before we get into the weekend here, I mean, no, we got a whole week ahead of us. Kill me. We got the Super Bowl Sunday coming up next Sunday.
Yeah, we sure do.
Predictions?
I think this is a Super Bowl where Patty Mahomes falls short. I think the Eagles have all the right things coming together at the right time. I know that the script says Chiefs Pete, 3-peat. You got Taylor Swift, who's arguably the biggest influencer in the world the last year and a half. I think the Chiefs fall. What do you think?
3 things are guaranteed in life that I've learned: death, taxes. Do not bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And I followed that suit for the last 2 years, and he's made me some money. And I'm gonna.
So you're not moving off that Chiefs money line.
I'm already on the Chiefs money line. It's so fun knowing that your money's on Patrick Mahomes. You know, someone who's done it consistently, and you just know that's gonna go get that victory. Man, he's so smooth when it comes to the playoffs. Like you said, he wasn't awesome. I mean, he wasn't fantastic this year, but come playoff time, there's no one I trust more.
Doesn't make mistakes.
Than Patrick Mahomes.
Can you imagine what that feels like for all those Chiefs fans that joined the bandwagon when he got drafted and they started winning?
Have you seen the QB Netflix thing?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about Kirk Cousins just freaking out. He's like, I got to do this, that, and Mahomes is like, I'm just having fun, man. And that's when you know you want the ball on that guy. He ain't making that moment any more than what it is. Just go play football, win a game. But all right, what do you got going on for the Super Bowl? Anything big?
I think we're heading up to Cedar Falls on Saturday for part 2 of Dusty's birthday. We're going to do some family stuff on Saturday, and then I think we're heading to the Thompson household for a little Super Bowl party before they move to West Hawkeyes. They're actually heading closer to us, so I think pretty chill. They got a 1.5-year-old with a number 2 on the way, but we'll have a few beverages. Definitely be wagering some bets. The one that I'm really iffy about is the coin toss. I'll be placing a coin toss bet. I'm not sure what I'm doing for that yet.
The most nerve-wracking couple seconds of your life is betting on the Super Bowl coin toss. You have to do it. It's all part of the experience.
Yep.
I don't know if I bet on it last year. I can't remember, but I know the year before it was tails, and I got that right. But man, I was sweating bullets. But seeing you win that bet is always fun, and then just a little extra money to lose on the game.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, like you said, there's been a lot going on in 2025. We're trying to keep up here. Nate, you did a great job staying with us today, being a little sick, and I'd like to pat myself on the back and say this was a hungover episode, but I still had a lot of fun.
No, I think this is one of our best episodes. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. I definitely feel a lot better being distracted from this, and I know the second we get off this phone call, I'm doomed.
Take care of yourself. We'll come back with some more energy. Thanks again for following along, everybody.
All right, let's have ourselves a week.